Hello. Welcome to Reality Stories, where stories do comes alive. Please subscribe and share with friends. Now relax and enjoy the story. The afternoon sun was hot over Lagos. Daniel sat in his small office, a fan spinning lazily in the corner, pushing warm air around. Papers were scattered on his desk, blueprints for a new church project he had been working on. He was tired, but proud. Life was not perfect, but at least he was building something with his own hands. As usual, the office television was on a local news channel. The anchor's voice filled the room as Daniel adjusted a ruler across the drawing. And in other news, billionaire businessman Michael Roberts announced another expansion into West Africa. His new real estate venture is expected to create hundreds of jobs. Daniel wasn't paying attention at first. Billionaires were always in the news. But then his eyes flicked up casually and froze. On the screen, standing in front of reporters in a sharp navy blue suit, was a man. Not just any man. It was his face. Daniel dropped his ruler. It clattered loudly against the tile floor. No, he whispered, leaning closer to the TV. His heartbeat quickened. The man's jawline, his eyes, even a small dimple near his mouth. It was like looking into a mirror. Daniel raised his hand and touched his cheek, as if to compare. Same skin tone, same voice, even when the man began to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, the man said on TV with calm authority, this project is not just business, it's legacy. The Roberts name stands for power, vision, and progress. That is what I intend to protect. Daniel's mouth went dry. His body stiffened. This is me, he muttered. He grabbed the remote and turned up the volume. The reporters asked questions. Michael answered with a smooth confidence Daniel had never mastered. The way he smiled, the way he gestured, it was unnerving. Suddenly, Daniel's colleague and friend, Chitty, walked into the office holding a pack of roasted groundnuts. Guy, a bag, you get water? The sun done finished me. Chitty tore the nylon, chewing quickly, but then he saw Daniel's face. Aha, what happened? You look like you just saw a ghost. Daniel pointed at the TV. His hand was trembling. Chitty, look. Chitty followed his gaze. His jaw dropped. Blood of Jesus. Chitty shouted, spilling groundnuts on the floor. Daniel, that man is your copy-o. Like photocopy. If not for the suit, I'd say nah you. Daniel swallowed hard. Who is he? The reporters cheering on the screen answered. Michael Roberts, CEO, Roberts Group. Chitty shook his head in disbelief. Daniel, now your twin brother be this? Or maybe your papa born Waka Waka. This one no fit be ordinary coincidence. Daniel stood up, pacing. His chest rose and fell heavily. Chitty? I don't have a twin. My mother never told me anything like that. Never. The news clip ended, but it was too late. The image was burned into Daniel's mind. Within minutes, his phone buzzed. Messages poured in from friends, family, even old classmates. Daniel, I just saw you on TV. How did you become a billionaire overnight? This man looks exactly like you. Are you related? Explain-o, because the internet is already dragging. Daniel opened Twitter. The trending topic screamed back at him. Hashtag Mirrorman. Hashtag Are They Twins? Hashtag My Other Half. Pictures of him and Michael were already side by side, shared across social media. Strangers debated his identity. Some even accused him of faking his life story. Daniel dropped his phone and sat down heavily. His breathing was shallow. This man, Daniel whispered again. Who is he to me? Chitty placed a hand on his shoulder, eyes wide with excitement and fear. My guy, Lagos Don carry your matter for head. If you no find answer fast, the whole country go. The following week, Daniel couldn't think straight. His office became a cage. His sleep was haunted by the face on the screen. He tried asking his mother, Margaret, but every time he mentioned Michael's name, she shut down. Daniel, she said firmly one night at the dining table, leave this matter. Not every door is meant to be opened. Her tone was final, but her trembling hands gave her away. That only fueled Daniel's determination. After days of restless searching, he found Michael's company headquarters, an intimidating glass building in Victoria Island. Expensive cars lined the parking lot. Security men in black suits scanned everyone that entered. Daniel wasn't sure what he was doing, but something inside him pushed forward. "I just want answers," he muttered. He walked up to the reception desk. The receptionist, a polished young woman with a headset, looked up. "Good afternoon, sir. Do you have an appointment with Mr. Roberts?" Daniel hesitated. "No, but tell him Daniel Roberts is here to see him." The receptionist's smile faded. She typed something quickly into her computer, then looked at Daniel again, startled by the name. "Please wait." Minutes later, two large security guards approached. Daniel's heart raced. They didn't speak. They simply escorted him into a private elevator. When the doors opened at the top floor, Daniel stepped into an office. So grand it felt like another world. Polished marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, and behind a massive desk sat Michael. The moment their eyes met, time seemed to stop. Michael leaned back in his chair, studying him like a predator examining prey. A slow smirk curved his lips. "So it's true," Michael said in a deep, controlled voice. "The ghost walks into my office." Daniel clenched his fists. "Who are you?" Michael chuckled softly. "I should be the one asking. You walk into my company, into my life with my face, and you demand answers." Their resemblance was surreal. They could have been reflections in a mirror, except Michael's suit was tailored and spotless, while Daniel's shirt was rumpled from sweat and anxiety. Daniel stepped closer. His voice shook. "I don't know what's going on, but you and we look the same. People think we're twins. Tell me why." Michael's eyes hardened. He stood up, walking slowly around his desk. His presence was commanding, almost suffocating. "Listen carefully," Michael said. "I built this empire with my own hands. My name, my wealth, my reputation. It is mine alone. I don't share it. Not with you. Not with anyone." Daniel frowned. "I don't want your empire. I just want the truth." Michael's smirk returned. He stopped just inches away, lowering his voice. "The truth? Sometimes the truth is poison, Daniel. You drink it, and it destroys everything you know." Daniel blinked. "So you admit there's something between us?" Michael's eyes flickered with something unreadable. Pain? Anger? Fear? But it was gone as quickly as it came. "All I'll say," Michael replied coldly, "is that our resemblance is no accident. But don't push further. If you know what's good for you, stay in your lane." Daniel's chest tightened. "Stay in my lane? You think I can just walk away after this? Look at me. Look at us. This is bigger than your pride, Michael." Michael's smile faded. For the first time, his voice carried a warning edge. "Go home, Daniel. Forget me. Forget this meeting ever happened. Because if you don't," he leaned closer, eyes sharp, "you'll regret it." The room went silent, except for the hum of the air conditioner. Daniel's hands trembled. He wanted to scream, to demand more. But Michael's cold stare froze him in place. Finally, Daniel turned and walked toward the door. Just before stepping out, he looked back. "Whatever you're hiding, Michael," Daniel said softly, "the truth always comes out." Michael didn't answer. He only watched, expression unreadable, as Daniel disappeared from his office. When Daniel reached the lobby again, his phone buzzed with a new Twitter notification. Hashtag My Other Half had climbed back to the top of the trends. And Daniel knew, whether Michael liked it or not, their story had only just begun. The evening was quiet in Daniel's modest flat. The generator outside hummed faintly, sending light into the small sitting room. Daniel sat on the sofa, his phone glowing in his hand. Twitter was still buzzing with side-by-side pictures of him and Michael. He scrolled through comments. "Omo, this thing past coincidence. One poor, one rich. Life no balance. Truth go soon bust." Daniel sighed heavily. His mind was spinning. He needed answers, and there was only one person who could give them. His mother. At that moment, Margaret walked in from the kitchen, carrying a tray of jollof rice. She was a strong woman in her late 50s, with tired but kind eyes. She set the tray down and smiled faintly. "You haven't eaten all day," she said. Daniel looked up at her, conflicted. "Mama, I need to ask you something." Margaret's smile faltered. "What is it?" Daniel turned his phone around, showing her the screen. A clear picture of Michael filled it. Margaret froze instantly. The tray slipped from her hands and crashed onto the floor. Rice scattered across the tiles. "Mama!" Daniel rushed her aside, but she staggered back, pressing her chest. "Jesus, no!" she whispered, her voice breaking. She gripped the edge of the table for balance. Her breathing was shallow, eyes wide with fear. Daniel held her shoulders. "Mama, what is it? Who is this man? Why does he look like me?" Margaret's lips trembled. Tears welled in her eyes. She shook her head violently. "Daniel, listen to me. Leave that man alone. Don't go near him." Daniel frowned deeply. "Why, Mama? Everyone is saying we are twins. Is it true?" "No." Margaret snapped. Then, softer, "At least not in the way you think." Daniel stared at her, heart pounding. "You're hiding something. Tell me the truth. Who is he to me?" Margaret's knees buckled. She sank into a chair, her hands trembling. "My son," she looked at him with eyes full of pain. "That man is not your brother. He is your curse." Daniel felt the words hit him like a hammer. "My curse?" Margaret nodded slowly, covering her face with her hands. "I prayed this day would never come. I thought I had buried it forever. But God has brought it back to haunt us." Daniel knelt in front of her. "Mama, please, I'm not a child anymore. Don't speak in riddles. If he's not my brother, then who is he?" Margaret sobbed quietly. "I cannot tell you everything. All I can say is this. The Roberts family is dangerous. They ruined my life once, and they will ruin yours if you let them." Daniel felt a rush of anger and confusion. "So I've been living a lie all my life? You expect me to just walk away because you said so?" "Mama, look at me. I need answers." Margaret grabbed his hands desperately. Her voice shook. "If you value your life, Daniel, promise me you'll forget that man. Promise me you won't search further." Daniel pulled his hands free, standing tall. His jaw tightened. "I can't promise you that. The truth is already out there. People are dragging me online. My name is everywhere. You can't bury this anymore, Mama." Margaret looked at him with broken eyes, as if realizing she had lost control of the situation. Then, "God help you, my son," she whispered. That night, long after Margaret had gone to bed, Daniel sat in the sitting room staring at old family photos. He pulled out a box of documents from under the couch, a box he hadn't opened in years. Inside were birth certificates, school records, faded letters. His hands shook as he sifted through them. Somewhere deep inside, he felt the answers were buried in these files, and he was determined to find them. The next morning, Daniel woke with swollen eyes from lack of sleep. Margaret avoided him at breakfast, moving around the kitchen like a ghost. But Daniel's mind was set. He walked into the living room, car keys in hand. "Mama, I'm going to the hospital." Margaret froze at the sink. "Why?" Daniel's tone was firm. "I need a DNA test. With or without your blessing." Margaret turned slowly, her face pale. "Daniel, please, don't do this." He shook his head. "I have to. I need to know the truth. If you won't tell me, then science will." Margaret's lips parted as if to argue, but no words came. She simply turned back to the sink, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. At a sleek private hospital in Victoria Island, Daniel sat in a waiting room. The smell of disinfectant filled the air. His foot tapped nervously against the tiled floor. Michael was late. He hadn't agreed easily. When Daniel first called him and suggested the DNA test, Michael had laughed coldly over the phone. "You think you can drag me into your circus, Daniel? Do you know who I am?" But Daniel had insisted. He had even threatened to go public. Finally, Michael agreed, perhaps out of arrogance, or maybe curiosity. Now, as Daniel waited, the door opened and in walked Michael, dressed immaculately as always. His wristwatch gleamed under the fluorescent lights. "You look restless," Michael said with a smirk. sitting beside him. Are you afraid of what you'll find? Daniel shot him a look. I just want the truth. Michael leaned back casually. Truth can be expensive, Daniel. Sometimes too expensive for people like you. Before Daniel could reply, a nurse appeared. Mr. Roberts, we're ready for you. Both men stood. For a moment, the nurse looked from one to the other, clearly unsettled by the uncanny resemblance. She quickly composed herself and led them into a small lab room. They sat opposite each other as the nurse prepared syringes. Michael watched Daniel with amused eyes. Relax, Michael said smoothly. It's just a little needle. Daniel glared. This is not a joke. Michael chuckled. Everything is a joke until it destroys you. The nurse drew blood from both of them, sealed the samples, and sent them off to the hospital lab. Results will be ready in 3 days, she said politely. The waiting period was torture. Daniel couldn't focus at work. Every time his phone buzzed, he thought it was a hospital. Margaret barely spoke to him, carrying a silent heaviness around the house. Finally, the call came. Mr. Roberts, the doctor said over the phone, your results are ready. You may come to the hospital for collection. Daniel's stomach nodded. He immediately called Michael. Meet me there, Daniel said. Michael's voice was calm. I already know the answer. But fine, I'll come. At the hospital, the doctor ushered them into his office. Papers lay neatly on the desk. The doctor cleared his throat, looking at them both with a mix of professionalism and curiosity. The DNA analysis is complete. I'll get straight to the point. Daniel leaned forward, heart pounding. The results show that you are indeed twins. Identical twins. The room fell silent. Daniel's chest tightened. His head spun. Michael, on the other hand, only smirked. Well, there you have it. My reflection is real. Daniel slammed his fist on the desk. Why was I hidden then? Why did no one tell me? Why does my own mother call you my curse? The doctor raised his hands quickly. Please, gentlemen, I can't speak on family matters. My role is only to provide the results. Michael stood slowly, buttoning his jacket. His tone was smooth, almost mocking. Maybe, Daniel, some secrets are sweeter when buried. You should ask your dear mother why she chose to erase you. Daniel shot to his feet. Don't play games with me, Michael. We share blood. We share a father. Why didn't he claim me? Michael's eyes glinted with cold amusement. Because you weren't worth claiming. Daniel's fist clenched. He almost swung at him. The doctor quickly stepped in. Please, not here. Michael leaned closer, whispering in Daniel's ear with a smile that cut like a knife. Face it, brother. You were the mistake. The unwanted half. That's why she kept you hidden. Daniel's breath caught. His vision blurred with rage. He wanted to scream, to fight, to demand answers. But deep inside, pain weighed heavier than anger. He staggered back, eyes burning. Michael straightened his suit and walked toward the door. Enjoy your truth, Daniel. Sometimes it's worse than lies. The door closed behind him, leaving Daniel trembling in the doctor's office. For the first time in his life, Daniel felt like a shadow of himself. He wasn't just Daniel Roberts, the humble architect. He was Daniel, the hidden twin, the one the world was never supposed to see. The evening air in Victoria Island was heavy with humidity. Daniel stood on the balcony of a cheap hotel room he had checked into after the DNA results. His mother had refused to talk, and Michael had walked away smirking. The city lights flickered in the distance, but Daniel's mind was dark and restless. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. If you want the truth, meet me at Eco Hotel. Rooftop, midnight. The sender, Michael. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to ignore it, but he couldn't. He needed answers. At midnight sharp, Daniel climbed onto the rooftop. The Lagos skyline stretched endlessly, neon and noise below. Michael was already there, dressed in a sharp gray suit, glass of whiskey in his hand. You came? Michael said, not looking up. His voice was calm, almost amused. Daniel's jaw tightened. Stop playing games, Michael. Tell me why my life was erased. Michael turned slowly, his eyes cold. Because you weren't supposed to exist. Daniel's fists clenched. What does that even mean? Michael sipped his drink, then walked closer. Our father, Richard Roberts, wasn't the man you think he was. He came from money. Old money. But his family had rules. They wanted him to marry into more wealth, to keep their empire intact. Daniel frowned, confused. So, where does my mother fit into this? Michael smirked. Your mother was a mistake. The poor village girl he fell for when he was young and foolish. He married her secretly, against his family's wishes. She gave birth to you and me. Daniel's eyes widened. You mean she's my real mother? And you? Yes. Michael cut him off. We are twins. But when our grandfather discovered, he forced father to choose. Wealth or love. Legacy or shame. Daniel's chest ached. And he chose wealth. Michael nodded coldly. He abandoned your mother. He married into the Williams family, one of the richest in the country. That marriage gave him status. Contracts, everything. But there was one condition. Daniel's voice trembled. What condition? Michael's eyes narrowed. He could only claim one son, one heir. Me! The words hit Daniel like a thunderclap. His legs felt weak. So he erased me. Michael gave a slow, cruel smile. Exactly. He paid your mother off, gave her just enough to survive, told her to disappear. You became the family's secret, the stain. Daniel's breath came in short gasps. He stepped back, shaking his head. No, this can't be real. My whole life, my struggles while you lived in mansions, while I walked to school barefoot sometimes. Michael's tone was sharp now. Don't blame me for your misery. I didn't choose this, but I embraced it. That's the difference between us. You were hidden, but I was built into power. That's why I am who I am. And you, he gestured at Daniel's plain clothes, you're nothing but a shadow. Daniel's eyes burned with anger. You think you're better because you were chosen? No, Michael. You're just a coward living off lies. Without me, you're incomplete. Michael chuckled darkly. Incomplete? No, Daniel. You're the extra half, the half father never wanted. The silence that followed was deafening. Only the hum of Lagos nightlife below filled the air. Daniel's voice cracked with pain. So all this time, Mama carried the shame alone. She raised me alone. And he, our father, pretended I never existed. Michael's face hardened. Yes, and she was right too. Because truth be told, Daniel, the Roberts family doesn't want you. They never will. Daniel stared at him, chest rising and falling heavily. Maybe, but the truth is out now, and the world will know I exist. Michael's smirk faded just slightly, but he masked it with another sip of whiskey. Be careful, brother. The world doesn't care about shadows. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Michael's words echoed in his head like a curse. You're the half father never wanted. But deep inside, Daniel made a silent vow. If the Roberts family erased him once, they would never erase him again. 3 weeks later, the Roberts empire was shaken by tragedy. Richard Roberts, the patriarch, had died suddenly in his sleep. His death dominated headlines across Nigeria. Billionaire real estate mogul dead at 68. Roberts Group faces uncertain future. The funeral was massive. Politicians, celebrities, business tycoons. The Roberts family mansion overflowed with mourners. Daniel didn't attend. He watched from afar on TV, heart heavy, fists clenched. Beside him, Chitty shook his head. So, this man your father? Omo. The whole Nigeria day cry for Am, and you can't even stand near his coffin. Daniel whispered, he buried me while alive. Why should I bury him now? But as the camera zoomed in on the will reading, Daniel's phone buzzed again. A lawyer's number appeared on the screen. The Roberts law firm was intimidating. Polished wood, leather chairs, and portraits of stern ancestors staring down from the walls. The family sat together. Michael in his sharp suit, his stepmother Evelyn Roberts with icy eyes, and 2 younger half-siblings who barely acknowledged Daniel's presence. When Daniel walked in, silence fell. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. What is this? She demanded. Who allowed him in here? The lawyer, a calm elderly man, cleared his throat. Mrs. Roberts, I invited him. By law, he has a right to hear this. Michael's lips curled into a smirk, but he said nothing. The lawyer unfolded the will. According to Richard Roberts' last testament, his assets are to be divided equally among his sons. The room erupted. Evelyn slammed her hand on the table. What nonsense! He has only one son, Michael. The lawyer shook his head. That is not entirely true. Recent DNA evidence confirms Daniel Roberts is Richard's biological son. As such, he is legally entitled to half of the estate. Gasps filled the room. Evelyn stood, her voice sharp like glass. This is an insult. This stranger will not inherit a single kobo of this family's wealth. Daniel's voice was steady, though his hands shook. I am no stranger. I am his blood. Whether you like it or not, I am his son. Michael finally spoke, his tone mocking. Congratulations, brother. You managed to force your way into the spotlight. But let's see how long you last under it. Evelyn glared at Daniel. You think money will make you part of this family? You will never belong here. Not in this house. Not in this bloodline. Daniel locked eyes with her. I don't need your acceptance. I just want what is rightfully mine. The lawyer raised his voice over the tension. Ladies and gentlemen, the law is clear. Until challenged in court, both sons are equal beneficiaries. The estate will be divided. The news broke within hours. Every media outlet carried the headline. Secret son emerges. Robert's empire divided in two. Twitter exploded. Omo, now a real Nollywood twist. Billionaire get hidden twin. Hashtag my other half is back. Poor man suddenly rich. This Daniel guy not hero. From shadow to billionaire. The hashtag my other half trended across Africa. Memes, photos, even TikTok videos dramatized Daniel and Michael's story. But inside the Roberts mansion, war was brewing. At a tense family dinner, Evelyn hissed across the table at Michael. You let this happen. You should have crushed him before he stepped foot here. Michael's jaw tightened. Don't worry. Daniel may have the law, but I have power, and power always wins. Meanwhile, Daniel sat in his small apartment, scrolling through the internet storm. His face was everywhere. Some praised him as a fighter for justice. Others mocked him, calling him the charity heir. Chitty sat beside him, eating suya. Guy, this your Matadon blow. From architect to billionaire overnight. But Michael and his stepmother go fight you die. Daniel's voice was quiet but firm. Then let them fight. I won't be erased again. Not by Michael. Not by anyone. He clenched his fist, determination burning in his eyes. The war had begun. The Lego sun was blazing, but Daniel felt nothing but ice in his veins. Ever since the will was read, his life had been in chaos. Social media was wild. The Roberts family hated him, and lawyers were circling like vultures. Still, Daniel was determined to claim his share. He worked with his lawyer, Mr. Ajayi, day and night. Piles of documents filled his small living room. Chitty was always there, encouraging him. Daniel, this battle no be beans. These people get money, connections, everything. You need to be smart. Daniel rubbed his tired eyes. I know, but I won't give up. Just then his phone rang. The caller ID, Michael. Daniel hesitated before answering. Brother, Michael's smooth voice came through. We need to talk. Daniel frowned. Talk about what? You've made it clear you don't want me here. Michael chuckled softly. True, but think about it. Fighting me is exhausting. What if I help you instead? Daniel was silent. Suspicious. Help me? Why? Because, Michael said, lowering his voice, if we fight, the lawyers win. They'll eat the empire in fees while we destroy each other. But if we work together, we can both benefit. Daniel clenched his jaw. And you expect me to trust you? Michael's laugh was sharp. You don't have to trust me. Just trust business. Let's meet tomorrow at my office. I'll show you something. The next day, Daniel walked into Michael's luxurious office. Everything gleamed, gold accents, marble floors, a massive painting of their father. Michael sat behind his desk, sipping wine like a king. "Welcome, brother," Michael said, standing to shake his hand. "You look tired. The struggle doesn't suit you." Daniel ignored the jab. "What do you want to show me?" Michael opened a drawer and pulled out a stack of documents. He spread them across the desk. "These are contracts father signed years ago. Land deals, investments, offshore accounts. I can use my influence to ensure you get your rightful portion, but you must let me manage everything on your behalf." Daniel scanned the papers. The words blurred together, but the figures were staggering. Billions in assets. Michael leaned closer. "Think about it, Daniel. You're an architect. You don't know how to run empires. If you leave this to me, you'll get wealth without the stress. All you have to do is sign here." He slid a pen across the table. Daniel hesitated. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. But the burden was heavy, and Michael's words sounded reasonable. "I'll take the papers home," Daniel said finally. Michael's smile tightened. "Of course, but don't delay too long. Time is money." That night, Daniel sat at his kitchen table, staring at the documents. Chitty sat across from him, chewing chin-chin. "Guy, I no trust this thing," Chitty said, frowning. Michael no fit suddenly turned to Angel. "Nah, trap." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "But the documents look legitimate. If I sign, I get security. If I refuse, this work could drag for years." Chitty leaned forward. "Then let your lawyer check him first. No sign anything blind." Daniel nodded. "You're right." Days later, Daniel returned the papers to Mr. Ajayi. The old lawyer adjusted his glasses, reading carefully. Hours passed as Daniel paced the office. Finally, Ajayi set the documents down with a grave face. "Daniel," he said slowly, "if you had signed these, you would have lost everything. These are cleverly forged contracts. Once your signature is there, you legally give up your inheritance. Michael would own it all." Daniel's chest tightened. "What?" Ajayi nodded firmly. "This was a setup. He pretended to help you, but his real plan was to erase you again." Rage boiled inside Daniel. He slammed his fist on the desk. "That snake." Chitty spat on the floor dramatically. "I talk him." Michael gnawed devil in human skin. Daniel's voice shook with fury. "He wants war? Then he'll get war. But this time, I'll be ready." That night, Daniel sat in the dark, staring out the window. The city lights flickered, but his mind was clear. Michael had betrayed him again. But this time, Daniel swore he would not be the victim. The storm came a week later. Daniel received another message, this time from an unknown number. "Meet me at the abandoned warehouse in Apapa tonight. If you want proof of your father's secrets, come alone." Daniel's stomach churned. It smelled like a trap, but the chance of uncovering more truth was too tempting. He told Chitty. "Don't go." Chitty shouted. "This not clear setup. If you go, you no go return." Daniel shook his head. "I need answers. If there's even a chance someone out there knows the truth, I can't ignore it." Chitty grabbed his arm. "At least take police. Or me." Daniel sighed. "If it's a trap, bringing people will make it worse. I'll go alone. But don't worry, I'll be careful." That night, Daniel drove to Apapa. The streets were dark and empty, the smell of the sea heavy in the air. The warehouse loomed ahead, its rusted doors groaning in the wind. He stepped inside cautiously. The air was damp, filled with shadows. "Hello?" Daniel called out. His voice echoed. "Who sent the message?" From the darkness, footsteps echoed. Slowly, Michael emerged dressed in black. His smile was cold and sharp. "Good evening, brother," Michael said softly. "I knew you wouldn't resist." Daniel's stomach dropped. "So it was you." Michael spread his arms. "Of course. Who else? You're predictable, Daniel. Always chasing truth, even when it kills you." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "You set me up." Michael's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Not a setup, a solution. You don't belong in this world. You never did. Tonight, I'm correcting Father's mistake." From the shadows, two armed men stepped forward, guns glinting. Daniel's heart raced. He backed away slowly. Michael, you don't have to do this. We're brothers. Michael's eyes burned. No, we are enemies who share the same face. And only one of us deserves to live. He raised a gun of his own, pointing it directly at Daniel. Time seemed to freeze. The sound of Daniel's heartbeat roared in his ears. Then bang! The warehouse echoed with a deafening gunshot. Daniel stumbled, expecting pain. But when he touched his chest, there was no blood. Instead, Michael staggered back, shock on his face. Blood spread across his suit. His gun clattered to the floor. One of the armed men had accidentally fired in the chaos, the bullet tearing into Michael instead of Daniel. No! Michael gasped, collapsing to his knees. His eyes were wide with disbelief. Not me. Daniel stood frozen, staring at his identical brother bleeding on the ground. The armed men panicked and fled into the night, leaving the warehouse eerily silent. Daniel rushed forward, catching Michael as he fell. Michael's blood stained his hands. His twin's eyes flickered with pain and rage. You, Michael whispered weakly, his voice trembling. You were never supposed to exist. You are my curse. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to scream, but no words came. Michael's head slumped against his shoulder. His breathing grew shallow. In that moment, Daniel realized the bitter irony. Michael had set the trap, but he was the one caught in it. The other half was bleeding in his arms. Daniel sat on the cold warehouse floor, cradling his brother. His mind was numb. The war between them had reached its peak, and now it had spilled blood. For the first time, Daniel didn't feel like the hidden sun or the shadow. He felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him. Michael had betrayed him. Michael had tried to kill him. But now, Michael's life was slipping away before his eyes. And Daniel knew nothing would ever be the same again. The courtroom was packed. Journalists filled every corner, their cameras flashing. Ordinary Nigerians had gathered outside, chanting, waving placards with hashtags like hashtag justice for Daniel and hashtag my other half. Daniel sat at the front bench beside his lawyer, Mr. Ajayi, his palms sweating. Across the aisle sat the Roberts family, Michael's mother, a cold woman in pearls, and his uncles, whispering furiously. Michael was absent, still recovering from the warehouse shooting. The judge, a stern woman named Justice Adeyemi, entered. Court is in session. Everyone stood, then sat. Ajayi rose. My lord, today we present evidence that proves my client, Daniel Roberts, is a legitimate son of the late Chief Roberts. Not only that, he was deliberately hidden, erased from family records, because his mother was considered unworthy. This, my lord, is injustice. The Roberts lawyer, a slick man named Barrister Bello, smirked. My lord, this so-called son has appeared from nowhere, trying to steal wealth that is not his. We all know Chief Roberts had only one true heir, Michael Roberts. Whispers rippled through the court. Ajayi stepped forward. Then let us show the truth. He signaled to an assistant, who wheeled in a projector. The lights dimmed. On the screen appeared an old black and white photo. Chief Roberts, much younger, standing proudly beside a young woman, Margaret, Daniel's mother, holding a baby in her arms. Gasps filled the room. Ajayi spoke firmly. This photo was taken over 30 years ago, before Chief Roberts married into wealth. The woman holding the baby is Margaret. That baby is Daniel. The judge leaned forward. Do you have proof this photograph is genuine? Ajayi nodded. Yes, my lord. We have testimony from the photographer himself. He is present today. An elderly man walked to the witness stand. His hands shook as he raised the Bible. State your name, Ajayi said. My name is Samuel Adebanjo. I was Chief Roberts' personal photographer in the 80s. I took that picture myself. That boy in Margaret's arms. He is Daniel. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge banged her gavel. Order, Ajayi continued. My lord, this is only the beginning. We also have letters, handwritten by Chief Roberts, sent to Margaret. In them, he promises to care for her and their son. But when he decided to pursue wealth, he abandoned her. He chose to erase Daniel because Margaret came from a poor family. Ajayi handed the letters to the judge. The courtroom buzzed as journalists typed furiously. Barrister Bello jumped up. Objection! This is sentimental rubbish. Anyone could forge letters. But before the judge could respond, Ajayi dropped the final bombshell. My lord, we also present the results of an independent DNA test conducted on both Daniel and Michael. The results prove they are twin brothers, both sons of Chief Roberts. The clerk handed the report to the judge. She read silently, her brow tightening. Then she looked up. The DNA confirms it. They're indeed twins. The courtroom exploded in noise. Reporters rushed out a tweet. Cameras clicked wildly. Outside, the crowd roared, chanting Daniel's name. For the first time, Daniel lifted his head. He wasn't just a shadow anymore. Justice Adeyemi struck her gavel. Silence. Based on the evidence before this court, it is clear that Daniel Roberts is a biological son of Chief Roberts. Therefore, he is entitled to equal inheritance as Michael Roberts. This court recognizes him as a rightful heir. The Roberts family gasped in horror. Michael's mother clutched her chest. Bello tried to argue. My lord, this will tear the family apart. The judge's voice was firm. The family tore itself apart when it chose lies over truth. Court adjourned. The gavel fell. Daniel sat frozen as the crowd surged forward. Cameras flashed in his face. Ajayi patted his shoulder. You did it, Daniel. You're no longer invisible. Daniel whispered, almost himself, Father tried to erase me, but the world now knows I exist. Tears stung his eyes, not of weakness, but of victory. Outside, as he walked past cheering crowds, he knew the war wasn't over, but for the first time, the truth belonged to him. A week later, the sky was gray over Koyi Cemetery. Rain drizzled lightly, soaking the fresh earth. Michael's grave lay at the center, surrounded by a small gathering of mourners, mostly business associates, some family, and journalists lurking from a distance. Daniel stood apart, holding an umbrella, his heart heavy. Michael had died 2 days after the warehouse shooting. The bullet wound had been worse than anyone thought. Despite the doctor's efforts, his other half was gone. Daniel hadn't known how to feel. Relief? Anger? Sadness? All three emotions churned inside him like a storm. Margaret touched his arm gently. You don't have to be here, Daniel. After everything he did to you. Daniel shook his head. I had to come. He was my brother. They watched as the coffin was lowered into ground. A priest prayed. Michael's mother sobbed quietly, supported by relatives. Daniel stepped forward, the mud squelching under his shoes. He looked down at the coffin, his reflection faint in the polished wood. In that moment, memories flashed. The first time he saw Michael on TV, the shock of seeing his own face, their tense meeting in the office, Michael's arrogance, the betrayal with the forged documents, the ambush in the warehouse, the gunshot. Daniel's chest tightened. For so long, he had hated Michael. But now, he realized something deeper. Michael wasn't just an enemy. He was a reflection. A dark mirror of what Daniel might have become if greed had consumed him. Chitty stepped up beside him. Oh boy, this thing dey pain me. Even though Michael not a wicked man. Life no balance. Daniel nodded slowly. He was my rival, but he was also my other half. Without him, I don't even know who I am anymore. Chitty placed a hand on his shoulder. You day alive. That's who you are. And now you fit live free. Daniel swallowed hard. He stepped closer to the grave, ignoring the rain dripping onto his face. His voice was low, almost a whisper. Michael, you spent your life trying to erase me, but you were also part of me. Maybe the worst part. Maybe the part one fought against every day. You were my other half, and only one of us survived. His words hung heavy in the air. Margaret wiped her eyes, looking at her son with quiet pride. You are stronger than he ever was, Daniel. Don't waste your life fighting shadows. Live. Daniel looked up at the sky. The clouds were breaking, a faint light shining through. For the first time, he felt free. He turned and walked away from the grave, the weight of generations falling from his shoulders. The world now knew his name. The war was over, and Daniel was ready to begin again.